My name is Steve, and our presenter today will be Matt Slofberg,
Yes, hello.
coming to
Welcome.
us from Sweden. Before we get started, for those of you who have never experienced Graphic Tracer, Graphic Tracer is a program that was designed or developed specifically for cleaning up bad quality graphics, and it's a standalone program, runs on Windows platform, and it links with just about most of the major graphic programs. You takes bitmaps, converts them into vector. We're using an advanced SenseEdge auto tracing technology, and then you can export directly into many programs, or you can save your image in all of the popular vector formats, which include AI, EPS, DXF, PLT, SVG, and Matt will be giving you the rundown on the program. And if you have questions that come up during the webinar, feel free to just type your questions in, and we will try and get to all of the questions in the webinar. So at the end of this webinar, you will know most of what you need to know about Graphic Tracer, hopefully. And then it will just be a matter of, if you've never tried it, or we do have a 10-day free trial. We encourage you to download a trial and give it a test drive. I think you're going to be impressed. So anyway, Matt, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you go ahead and take over the webinar here.
Okay, thank you, Steve. So today I'm going to focus a little bit on fonts, and because we get lots of questions from users, how many fonts can you use, and how many fonts can the program recognize, and how many fonts are included in the program. So I will try to answer a few of these questions. I have a slide, and okay, so the program can identify 170,000 fonts, and it replaces identified text with the correct font with over 85,000 fonts plus all the fonts you own. So these are the default fonts, which you can download and use for replacement, the traced high precision shapes that we have, and the Google fonts, more than 6,000 fonts, and then naturally all the fonts you own and that are installed in Windows, and font folders that you add into the program. So with Adobe fonts, you can furthermore use 22,000 fonts for replacement, and with Corel you have an additional 1,000 fonts that you can install for free. So if you have both Corel and Adobe, you can actually use 108,000 fonts for text replacement in Graphic Tracer. So that is a huge number of fonts that you can use, and very high likelihood that you will be able to identify and replace text in logos. Even if you don't have Adobe fonts, you still have lots and lots of options of fonts that you can use. Okay, so
Now,
I will just...
Can I make one comment, Matt?
Yeah.
If Graphic Tracer isn't able to find the correct font, it will actually let you replace with any of the fonts that you own or that you have, so that you have authorization to replace with. Was that clear?
Yeah, I think so. So I will just start here with opening a sample image. And I will just take this, let's see, popcorn, there it is. So this is a low resolution image with a couple of texts in it. And I will add the orange here. So now I have a white, black, and orange in this image. Black is the default color, and you can change that or delete it, but in this case we have black in the image, so I will keep it. And I'll just click vectorize. So the program then vectorizes the logo. I will turn on view fill here, and so this is the tracing of that logo. You can see it turned out the text is bad, but the rest of the graphic looks pretty good. So I want to replace this text called the popcorn text here. So I will go to text, and then we have this tool called Identify Font and Place. And this time the text is written on a circular arc. So I need to tell the program by using this drop-down list that this is a text written on a circular arc. There are other options here for angle text, vertical text, free characters, or aligned to a curve, or distorted text also. But this time it's a text on an arc, and I will adjust the baseline a little bit just to that will make it easier for Graphic Tracer to place the new characters which will replace these. And I'll click next, and I'll need to tell the program just make sure that these letters are correct. Since I've been doing this logo before, I know that these are lowercase letters, so I need to go and change them into that. Oh. And I use the tab key to go to the next box. And when I'm ready, I will click next here. So now the program will try to identify the font. And you will see here that it identifies the font, and it says it's called Fontopo from Dafont. So the top option here is not a green font, and the replace button is grayed out here. So that means I don't own that font. And if I look at the second option here, it's pretty far from looking like the font I want to replace. So I want to get this font. So if I don't own it, it's not installed in my computer, it's not among my Adobe fonts, it's not among my Corel fonts, then I need to get that from dafont.com in this case. So we have this suppliers button, which will let me search for the font among different suppliers here. And since it's a font from dafont.com, it will select that from this list. And I'll just click search here. And you can see here, it brought me to Fontopo directly, and there is a download button here. So I just click download, and it will save it in my downloaded fonts, since that's where I save my downloaded fonts. I will click cancel here since I already downloaded this earlier. And so now I have downloaded the font, but I haven't installed it on my computer or anything. It's just downloaded. Then I can go to my tools menu here, and there we have an option called add a font, because I want to add Fontopo to my fonts that I want to, so I can use that for replacement. So when I click that, it goes to the folder where I usually add fonts from. And if I might need to navigate to that folder, but it will remember it. So the next time, if you save your fonts to the same folder, it will remember it. So I will just click the Fontopo regular TTF font here and click open. And now you can see it changed in the list here. Now it says quick add fonts. So that is a collection which is created for fonts that you add into the program one by one like this. It selected the font that you have added, and it superimposes that on top of your text here, and you can adjust the position of characters if you want to, and just click and move them to the right spot. You can even rotate them if you want to, and I will do the same thing with the N here. And when I'm happy with the look of it, I can simply click replace. So this is what we mean when we want to replace, have fonts that you can use for replacement. So if you have Adobe fonts and Corel fonts also, you will be able to replace text like this that the program can identify. So I click that, and if I click undo here, you can see what the text looked like before. And in a few clicks, we get this perfect text.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. And I will do the same thing just to show you the workflow of getting a logo ready for production. I will do the same thing with the bottom text here. This is also written on a circular arc. And I don't think I need to adjust the baseline. Click. That should be an A. That should be a V. E, N. That looks correct. And then I click next here again. And in a few seconds, you will see that this is also font topo. And now when I've done a new search here, you can see that the first option is font topo from Dafont, and the second option is font topo from Quick Add Fonts, which is the font I recently added. And that one I own, and I can click replace for that one. So I'll just move the E over a little bit, maybe the N also. And then I click replace. So now I got two perfect texts there, and to just clean up the rest of the logo here, I will assume that these are circular arcs, or should be. So I'll just click one node. This adjust shapes that I went to is the node editing tool of Graphic Tracer. So that means that I can move nodes here and handles and adjust curves and lines and things like that. Now I select one node, control click on another node, and the program will select all nodes between those. And then I can go over to my left where I get all my options for what I can do. And we have an option called convert nodes to arcs here. So that means that when I click here, it will convert that section here into a part of a circle. And I can do that for the next part here also. It becomes perfectly round, and I will do that to the last part of the popcorn here also. So each part of the popcorn are perfectly round right now. And if I want to fix the outer circles, which look pretty good to me, if I go back here, you can see that there are a few nodes on them, but they look pretty round. But to make them perfectly round and perfectly aligned to each other, I will use the replace object, convert to circle, and then just click on these two. That will make them perfectly round and perfectly aligned with the same center point. So that's a plus. Even if they look good, they will become perfect when you use this tool. And when I'm ready with the logo, I can just select which of these programs I use for my graphic production. So in this case, it was CorelDRAW, but you can also do it with Illustrator, SignCut Draw, Affinity Designer, Inkscape, FlexiSign, SignLab, RDWorks, Adobe Photoshop, Melco, Design Shop, and Vinyl Master and Lightburn. So if you use any of those, you can just move the graphics to one of those programs. Oh, that was one. With one click, you just click transfer, and you go into the other program, and you can see the logo pops right into that. If you have any other programs that you want us to add here, please let us know. You can send an email to support@graphicpowers.com, and we will try to add them here. Most of these programs are requests from customers and actual users.
Makes cleanup incredibly fast.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if I'm not talking, this takes 2 minutes to clean up, and then you can print it on anything or cut it out or engrave it or whatever you use your vector graphics for.
Uh-huh.
Then I will show you how it works with Adobe fonts. So a lot of people have Adobe fonts, especially if they work with graphics. I will show you one thing before that. And if you want to add a font collection into the program, you can do that by clicking the Tools menu, and then you have an option beneath the Add a Font, Add Fonts from Folder. And when you click that, you get this dialog here. And then you name the collection to anything you want. You can call it My Fonts, or you can call it, if you know the name of what type of collection you're adding, I can add to fonts. And then I select a folder. So I will just go down here to Users, Maths L, and in Downloads, there it is. Then I have downloaded fonts, and I have a collection which I got a couple of weeks ago that we probably will be adding to the identifiables. It's not in there yet, but they will be in the program soon. So it's a collection with a few hundred hand-lettered fonts. So I will just click OK here, and then click Create the Database. And the program will open up a window where it shows the progress. And in that time, it has added a few hundred fonts. I think it's about 500 fonts that has been added to the program right now. So that's how you add fonts that you own into your program. And I highly recommend that you add all the fonts that you have. If I go in here again, you can see that there is a text here saying if all fonts in subfolders will be included. So you don't have to go in and create a database for every subfolder. But if your collection exceeds 10,000 fonts, please divide them into several different folders. And then add one folder at a time. It can take a really long time if you add that many fonts. And also, there is a limit to how much memory the program can allocate for the creation of the database. So please stick to less than 10,000 fonts every time you add a folder.
Matt's that menu in the options under fonts where it lists all of the different databases that you're searching.
Yeah.
If you build it, yeah, you should, because if say, for example, a person owns a library that is selected in there and you're doing redundant searching, it takes longer, doesn't it? I mean, if you turn off.
Absolutely. So if you add if you own let's say a CD or DVD with Adobe Fontfolio 10 or something that is 10 years old or something, and you add those, and then you go into Tools and Options here. We have a tab called Font Eye, where you can see all the collections that are searched right now, and you can see that Adobe Fontfolio 11 is already included in the searches. But if you add your version, that will become green, and you can use that for replacement. Then you can uncheck this one, because otherwise it will be search both collections, and that will be redundant. So if I scroll, you can see the top option here, Installed Fonts. That is green, and that means that these are replaceable. The ones that have an I here in this dialog box means that they are only available for identification. And if I scroll down to the bottom of the list, we'll have the green ones here. So my Corel fonts, my Adobe fonts, the Quick Add fonts, which only contains one font for the moment, since I added that Fontopo font, and now the collection hand tooled fonts that I just also created here. So those are green. And then we have the Google fonts in the middle here is also green, since that is you're allowed to use those freely, all those fonts. So this is where you can check out which collections you are using and which fonts collections you have added. you can also add new ones here, and you can delete font collections here also from the ones that you have created yourselves. All right, so now I click cancel there, and let's take a look at
We
another logo here.
we have a question here. Someone's asking,
Yeah.
what do you do if you can't identify a font?
Oh,
Yeah,
well, if the
there's
program can't identify it, it means that either we don't have that in our collections and you don't own that font, or maybe you don't know all the options in the program. There, for example, many times a font has been stretched or compressed, and the program won't identify it immediately, but then you can click the try stretching option. I can just show you quickly with a, I'll open, let's see here, which one is,
blue whale.
no, that is totally distorted. So
Okay.
I was just looking at something like this. We'll remove the color, vectorize. So if maybe I want to identify the font here, it looks like all letters are in the same font but different sizes. I can't select the F and the abulus in the same. I could try that, but to me it looks like the F is in a different size. So you need to make sure that you select letters that are written in the same size only. Otherwise, the program won't identify the font either. So I'll just go here to text, identify font, and click next. That's ULOUS. I'll click next here. And this time the program won't be able to identify the font because somebody has stretched the text. So you can see the best option the program suggests is Brawl. And then you have other options here, but none of them are close. But if you click the try stretching option here and do a new search, the program will try to fit them. But in any case, if the program can't identify the font, it can't. It will suggest fonts that are similar or as similar as it can identify, and you can use those and edit it. Otherwise, you might need to redraw the text or something like that. But here you can see it identify the font. I click on the green one that I own. I can click replace, and now I got perfect text there. So I hope that answered your question a little bit, but there are lots of different ways that you might need to know how to operate this program to be able to use all different cases where the program or the logo is totally distorted, like the blue whale here. Graphic Tracer can still identify fonts even if the text looks like this. So both E's here are the same font, but they have totally different shapes. So, but I will show you another logo here that I prepared.
Yeah. One more thing, Matt. You have to be a little bit of a detective sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, to try and figure out what a graphic designer has done, but also you need to be watching also, because if you have a lowercase l and Graphic Tracer identifies it as a 1 or a capital I, you know, when it's doing that OCR aspect, zeros and capital O's and various things like that. If you speed through and you're typing in those letters, you know, it could be an operator error that causes Graphic Tracer to misidentify as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see here. I will open another logo here. This is just an example I made for showing how to work with Adobe fonts if you own Adobe fonts. I will click automatic here just to let the program pick out the colors. Otherwise, I can use the color picker here and click in the logo, but You can see if I click automatic, it picks out white and red here as I wanted. And then I click vectorize. So you can see here, it looks pretty bad, and I can totally understand why, because you can see the original bitmap. This is like 3 by 3 pixels, this part of the B, so it's very little information for the program to vectorize that. So I want to identify and replace the text here. I will use the taverna. It's often better to use a longer word when you want to identify font, because there is more information for the program to go on when it tries to identify it. So I will click text and then click identify font and replace. And this is a straight text. It identifies the characters. And here you can see there are shift key symbols under each letter. And if I type in number 3 there, you can see it changes to a hashtag, or if I type also if it's empty, there will be a red exclamation mark under it. It's telling you that you need to do that. You can't even press next if there's sort of empty box here. So you need to type something. And if I type a lowercase letter, there is no symbol under it. So I will just change that back to an uppercase A and click next. So the program tries to identify the font here again. And you can see this looks like a perfect match to me. So it says Puffin Display Black. It's from Adobe Fonts. And the second option is Puffin Display Soft Black. If I select that, that looks also like a very close match. So here you have to decide if you think, I can also try the third option here, but here you can see that the A is straight, but the original is bent. The same with the V here. So that one is probably not the correct font. So it's either this one or this one, and you have to decide if you think the logo has bent corners or if they have sharp corners here. So I'm going to go with the top one here, Puffin Display Black. I don't own this font, but it's an Adobe font, and I have Adobe Fonts a license for that. So in that case, I do like I did with the fonts. I click suppliers, and it automatically suggests I searched for that on Adobe. And it will search for Puffin Display Black. And I click search, this screen again. So this is the search it did. It says there are 2 families that has Puffin Display and Puffin Display Soft. So those were the 2 options in my list here, Puffin Display Black or Puffin Display Soft Black. So it's either, if I want to go with the soft option, it's in this collection, otherwise it's in this family actually. So I will go click View Family for Puffin Display, and then I will scroll down until I see one called Black, Puffin Display Black. That is the top option here. I will simply activate the font in my browser. So now it says you activated Puffin Display Black. When you activate a font in Adobe Fonts, the font is downloaded from their server onto your computer. So this is activated, this font, right now. I will move that out of the screen and close this window. So now I don't want to add the font because it's not downloaded into any specific folder that I, like I did with the Adobe, the font. Instead, I will go up to Tools here, and we have an option, Update my Adobe Fonts database. And I'll just click that. And then it says, no new fonts detected, please. And I'll click, okay, I remember now. So when this happens, that means that the font hasn't been downloaded yet. And that is because I don't have any Adobe software running. So even if you activate a font in Adobe Fonts, it won't download until you have an Adobe software running. So actually, it was pretty good that I made this mistake, because then you know what happened. So I'll just start Adobe Illustrator here, and I could just as well started Photoshop or any other Adobe software that I'm using here. So if when you go here and click on update my Adobe Fonts database, and it says no new fonts has been added, it's because you had no Adobe software running. So now it says Adobe Fonts are currently downloading fonts. The database creation will start as soon as the download is complete. So now you can see it starts and it updates the database, creates the database, and I can now should be able to go to my Adobe Fonts collection. Oh, and there you see Puffin Display Black. If I select that, I can just click Replace. I could just as well click Search again, and it will have found the font. I'll just click Replace here, and that text is perfect. You can do the same thing with, let's see, Buds. And that's also a straight text. PAD, and there's a question mark, and type that in. And when I click search this time, it should be able to find the font immediately. So it says Puffin Display Black from my Adobe Fonts. You can see that this sign is wrong, so I probably used the wrong. I can go back here, and I'm not sure which one it is now. Is it like that? And click next to do new search. No, now it didn't even identify it. So we're not sure. Maybe the designer used a comma and moved it up or something. That could be it. So what I can do is go back here, shift click that to remove that from the font text selection, click next, and just do the letters here.
That's part of that being a detective to figure out what the designer did.
So yeah, this is typical case when you think you can't identify the font. Now it says Puffin Display Black from my Adobe Fonts. I click Replace. And I probably need to fix this manually, or maybe I can do this. Click Next, tell the program it might be a comma, and click Last Search here. Wasn't really exactly that one either. Oh yeah, if I selected Puffin Display was the second option. That looks pretty close. So I will just click Replace here. And now I got that text perfectly. So the designer used a comma instead of a apostrophe or whatever you call those in English. Sorry.
If it's not perfect,
anyway.
though, you can go in with your note editing and bring up your.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Your stuff
you can fix things like that, but I mean it's much faster if you can replace it with the actual shape like this. Okay, so that's a little bit why sometimes if you have a bit of a problem with the text, maybe select the other letters and replace them, and then you get the font, and maybe you can figure out what somebody has done with the problem part or something like that. Okay, so let's see here. I will show you one more thing here with the fonts. It's really been a font special, this webinar. And that's the Corel fonts. I won't do a logo here. I will just show you, since there are a lot of Corel users among our users, I know, many times wonder, where do I get more fonts? And many of you Corel users haven't even downloaded and activated the fonts that are free included in Corel. So you will just have to go through Corel Draw and click on the font selector. Here you will find the button, Get More, and here it works to download the fonts. So, and here I can add Fira Sans and Allegria. And also there was an option here called 1000 plus free fonts. And but I already added that to my Corel fonts. And but if you haven't done that, I recommend downloading all free fonts, because you will be able to identify and replace text with even more options if you do that. And if you use Graphic Tracer and you add more fonts here from Corel, you will go back to Graphic Tracer, go to Tools, and click Update My Corel Fonts Database. So this is how you handle fonts in Graphic Tracer, so that you can identify and replace text in different originals or logos and things that you need to. And this will help you really speed up your production, since looking for fonts and things like that can take hours. So there is one option in this menu that I haven't told you about, and it's Update Installed Fonts Database. I think it's pretty self-describing. If you install more fonts in Windows, you can just click Update Installed Fonts Database, and that database will be updated, and you can use your newly installed fonts in Graphic Tracer as well.
I'd like to make a comment, while people
Yeah.
thinking about any questions, is to be able to see, be able to turn on that or superimpose the font right on top of what you're trying to match is really, really useful. I mean, I've done a lot of that where you have, it brings up, two different fonts, and you have to look back and forth and at each letter, and try and visually say, okay, does it really match up? Because there's a lot of times there's fine details, and that might work to get you close, but sometimes at least for me in my shop when we used to do it that way, I often would end up with something that I thought was the font, but if you're dealing with a customer that knows the font and his logo or whatever, and you miss it, they're not going to be happy. And so it's really important, if you're dealing with people's logos or trademarks or various things, that things be right on the money, Graphic Tracer, does enable you to make sure everything looks perfect, not just close.
Yeah. I mean, the texts, after you run them through Graphic Tracer, the texts are the actual font. It's not some close editing that somebody has made or something. It's the real deal.
One thing you didn't show, Mats, is the connected script.
Yeah, I'll run one quick here. That is also a really unique feature of Graphic Tracer. Let's see here if the previews are turned off here, but this one, no. Okay, yeah, before I do that, when you start the program the first time, in the help window to the right here, where every time you change a tool here, you will get help in the help window to the right. It will tell you about all the options you have available to the left, about new, open, and paste clipboard. We have a new screen capture tool also, where you just click that and drag the program will hide while you capture the screen and then pop back up when the image is ready to be imported. But in this load image or the help window here, this is what it looks like when you start the program. We have 3 tutorials here. with these sample image from the sample images. And there are videos that you can look at, pause them, and do the same thing, and run through these 3 tutorials to just get to learn the program really well. It will tell you about how to replace script text, which I'm telling you will show right now, stretch text, and even many other things in node editing and replacement tools that we have in this program. So I really recommend running those if you're new to Graphic Tracer. Okay, so I will just separate this. I click automatic, get dark brown, orange, and black. That looks good to me. So I'll just click vectorize there. So you can see the coffee blend text here looks really, really crappy. It's really bad. So I will just start with since I was the script text option in Graphic Tracer. So I will drag a box around that text. And this is a straight text. I'll click next. And now the program tries to figure out which letter this is. And I can understand that it thinks it's a 9, but it's not. It's a capital V here. And this letter are, of course, a bunch of letters. So I just enter all of them. And I don't know if you've been using other font identifiers. You never get to type more than 1 letter per box. So you need to cut each letter apart, and you don't know where to do that. And then you can't identify the font. And yeah, Graphic Tracer allows you to do the whole word in one sweep, and I'll just click next. And the program will hopefully tell you that this is BigCam script, and I have that installed on my computer. I can click replace immediately here, and you also have an option here that says weld, and you can see that if I zoom in here that the letters are intersecting, so that means that they will cut into each other if I'm not welding it. If you are printing and the letters are black on black, you won't see any difference if I weld it or not. If you want to use it for engraving or sign cutting or anything like that, you need to weld the letters together. So I just do that, and now I got perfect text here, which are also welded together. Also, show you fast this coffee blend here. Has different colors in it and everything. I'm not sure that this will work, but I think it will. Coffee blend. Oh, that's correct. I'll click next. And now you can see it says this is Atlantic inline. Even has these islands inside the letters here. That's why you got multiple colors, because they're the program interpret that as color noise instead of this double contour here. So I just click replace, and now that text is perfect. So if I undo, went from that to that in a couple of seconds. So yeah, it's an amazing tool if you're working with font replacement in text, in logos and anything like that. It's also an amazing tool for tracing logos and for replacing other things like outline effects and making perfect circular arcs like I showed you before. So it's a really program that can restore graphics to its original look. And that's what you want if you're working in the graphic industry.
Now, Graphic Tracer isn't intended to replace necessarily your graphic program you're using, Illustrator, CorelDRAW, or any of those creative programs. This is more of a house cleaning program. It takes designs that have become corrupted or messed up or some way just low resolution, and it restores them. And makes them look brand new, all cleaned up and everything. And so it's something you would use alongside of other programs. And it's all about time. as well. I mean, there's many ways to do a job in cleaning some of these things up, but Graphic Tracer does it very quickly. It does it efficiently, and keeps your production flow moving forward rapidly, because that's where you make your money, when your graphics are actually in production. And sometimes it's difficult to charge a customer for excessive time in trying to make their graphic look good, because a lot of times they will look at their logo on their website and they say, well, it looks good. How come it cost me so much, to get that logo on something larger, when it looks good on my website. So, but Graphic Tracer, did you have more to say, Matt, or shall I share?
Yeah, I was just thinking it is, like you said, a companion software for any other software that you are using in your production. The only thing, Corel and Adobe Illustrator also have tracing capabilities. But if you compare tracing these logos with what you can get from Graphic Tracer by replacing text and shapes and things like that, they are not even close. This is one of a kind program, actually.
And bad quality art always traces poorly in anybody's software.
It is.
And then you're stuck with the tools that you have to restore that trace. Your option is either redraw it from scratch or take what you have and restore it. And Graphic Tracer does a wonderful job of taking things that are imperfect and making them look good in a very short period of time. Graphic Tracer is available in 3 different modes. You can subscribe on a monthly basis. It only costs $15 a month. And if you've outsourced graphics, oftentimes you will pay $15 to clean up one image. But for the cost of what it typically would clean up one image, Graphic Tracer, you get it for the whole month. If you do an annual subscription, the price is reduced by 33%, but you pay a year in advance. Instead of $15 a month, it's only $10 a month, $120 a year paid annually. Or you can buy the program outright for $595. And if you buy a non-expiring license, you will get free upgrades for life. So you would never pay another cent, basically, to always be using the latest and greatest version of Graphic Tracer. All subscriptions also are free upgrades. You're always going to be on the most recent version. When we add new features, add more fonts or whatever, all of those you will upgrade, and there's no additional charges for all of that. So Graphic Tracer has a 10-day free trial. If you have not tried Graphic Tracer, download it and take it for a test drive. Take some of the things you've seen today, see how it works. There are sample graphics built into the program up in the little file drop down. You can try on some of the files that you're actually seeing us do today, but give it a test. See how you can make it work. If you have any questions or problems, shoot us an email to help see if we can resolve any of the issues anybody's had. But anyway, we want to thank you today for coming out and watching our webinar. We hope that you have learned something today, and that what you've learned will help you be more productive in your shop and more profitable. So thank you all for attending. And if you have any ideas or any thoughts that you think would make Graphic Tracer better, we like to hear those things too. So we're always Graphic Tracer is a program in process, and a lot of the things that you see are things that have been suggested by our users, and we do take those suggestions very seriously. So thank you again for attending today, and wish you all well.
Yes, thank you.